Let's look at the hurdlers then. We'll kick off with your previous Unibet Champion Hurdle heroine, EPATANTE. And we've seen her this morning. She looks well, like she always does.
She's very well. She has done some work now. I mean, because if we could win the Fighting Fifth and the Christmas Hurdle, we'll have done a jolly good job for the year. What happens after that would be a bonus. Well, actually, she got plenty of bonuses as well. She did win both. Okay, she had to halve the Fighting Fifth, but she got no run in the race at all, so she did well to get up and share the spoils. But she was very, very impressive at Christmas. She went on to be second in the Champion Hurdle, won another Grade 1 at Aintree. She won 3 Grade 1s. She had a super year, and she's in very, very good form. The Fighting Fifth was tomorrow. She'd be ready to run. But I mean, it's you know, got a lot of time.
And you've also got a lot of options as well now, because you know that she does stay 2.5.
That's the whole thing. Yeah, you can. She was very good at Aintree. She'd really, you know, we always thought she was a genuine 2-miler, but she got the trip very well at Aintree. So, you know, it would open up the few extra avenues. Which
is what you need now. Constitution Hill has come onto the scene.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, where does he go? We think, and we're sort of favouring the plan of her going to Newcastle, and he would go to Ascot for that Ascot hurdle. It is 3.5 furlongs. You know, I can't believe 3.5 furlongs is going to worry him. He just stays for as long as he. The great thing about him, he relaxes so much, so he could doodle around over that little bit further. That wouldn't be a worry.
And then I suppose you've got the quandary: if EPATANTE wins the Fighting Fifth and Constitution wins at Ascot, then do you run them both in the Christmas hurdle?
That we'll cross it when we get there, but that is the possibility, yes.
How difficult a decision was it to remain over hurdles with Constitution and not go novice chasing?
Because I think we'd briefly looked at Punchestown last year and take on Honeysuckle there, but I don't think it was ever going to likely to happen. But we would like to do that. I think he deserves the opportunity to be able to prove that. Yes, he will jump fences, there's no doubt about it. But we'll have to just try and win a Champion Hurdle first. It'll be fun.
You've always said he's quite laid back in his work. Is that still the same now, or is he sort of getting more racing and more experience and getting better?
If you
is he
see
showing
him
more?
walking and trotting around the school there, you wouldn't give me sixpence for him. He gets lap walking around the covered ride at a walk and a trot. And if you're just having a Monday morning canter, you wouldn't pick him out from a crowd. Whereas you could, you know, a lot of the good horses, you can spot them, but he doesn't stand out until you ask him for it. And that's the great thing about him. He'll do as much as he has to, as much as we ask him to, until you ask him to do that little bit more, and then it's electric. And then he shows you he is a very good horse. So at the moment, he's push-button stuff. You know, you'd follow them around and press the button and off he goes. And it wasn't until we one day pressed the button that I thought he was any good at all. I thought he was rubbish. But all of a sudden, once we found the button, which was hidden under the steering wheel somewhere, I expect, once we found the button, then we found the horse.
That must make it much more easier for you there as a trainer when you've got a horse like him who is just so relaxed, and when you press the button off he goes, rather than perhaps a John Bond who's a little bit more sort of on his toes and you've got to try and keep the lid on him a little bit more.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, but they are, yeah, they make life much easier for us. They have, I mean, he is very laid back. I think, you know, by and large, we've got quite a lot of Blue Brazils, and they seem to have fantastic temperaments. They've got great heads on them, and their mind games are really good.
Okay, just flipping back to the mare, we've spoken about EPATANTE. Marie's Rock, she's very fast, becoming, I'm sure, a favourite of yours and all of the Midland Park team. She ended the season on a great high over in Ireland, didn't she?
Well, yeah, it was extraordinary because the year before, well, if you go back to the very first year, she was sort of favourite for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, and sadly she went wrong just before it. But then came back into training 2 years ago, and she was nothing. She couldn't do anything. And we put her away again for the summer. She came in last year, completely different horse. And obviously the word goes, she won her first race. She then actually just got knocked over really in the Lanzarote. We were still in handicaps at the time, but she roared through them, won a listed race, and then we went to Cheltenham. She wins the mares there, and she finished up with a second Grade 1 at Punchestown, and so she's effectively champion mare, which you'd have had quite a lot odds against at the beginning of the season, but it was great.
So what will be your thoughts and how would you be looking at campaigning her this season? Because you've got quite a few horses in that similar sort of category, haven't you?
Yeah, that 2.5 mile category, yeah. I mean, again, we'll see how it goes with Epatante, but, I cannot believe she won't be going. Just done exactly the same route as last year, finishing up with the Champion Hurdle, and Epatante was only just behind Honeysuckle at the last, where she made quite a bad mistake, to be fair. She wouldn't have won, but it had been quite close. Marie's Rock, well, we know she wants 2.5. It might be a question of moving her up to 3. And I can't see why she wouldn't get it. I really don't. So that might be the way we push them all up half a mile.
And a horse that we know gets 3 miles is Champ. Again, he's a horse who, when he's good, he's very good and perhaps throws the odd clanger in every now and then. But I know you've done a lot of work again with him over the summer to try and get him A1.
Yeah, he looks fantastic. He always does at this time. He looks amazing throughout the year. He's easy to read. Yeah, he was disappointing in Cheltenham, really. But I mean, again, you go back to the fighting fit, to the long walk, and he was really good. We thought Buzz was going to win that until 2 days before. And then Buzz goes wrong and Champ comes out and wallops him. He's been great. I love the horse.
So will it be a similar sort of campaign targeted towards the Stayers Hurdle in March?
I would have thought so, yeah.
There's no danger of him going back over fences?
I can't say we wouldn't school him because his back's been done again. Don't have a look at him over a fence at home and see what he says.
You touched there on Marie's Rock and Buzz as well. How is Buzz? What sort of stage are we at with him?
Well, I'm going to see him later on this week. I mean, he's down the road in a sort of dressage establishment, doing loads of dressage work to try and build up the back end, the muscles behind that he lost as a result of the fractured pelvis. And, when you stand as still as he had to for 2 months, you're bound to lose, the muscle will waste. He's not symmetric behind at the moment, but he's getting there and he's doing good work. We'll just continue to wander along and he'll tell us when he wants to. And if he wants to go and do it and he's happy and we're happy and, we're absolutely 100% that he's not going to come to any harm, then the plan is to crack on. Whether he'll ever be as good as he was we'll find out. We're a long way away from that yet.
Nicky, Theatre Glory did really well for you last year in Cantamanta racing. How's she summered?
She summered. I mean, she did very well once she came in. Actually, she looked. She's done really well. She looks great. I mean, we were thinking of trying to get to Wetherby for that mare's race on Charlie Hall Day, but to be fair, the ground's not going to be good enough for her and she's not quite ready. So we'll go down those mares listed and she'll have to just keep creeping up and see how far she can go. She never stopped improving all last year, so she's an exciting mare.
So did she surprise you as to how much improvement she showed?
She always did everything quite nicely, yeah. She's just not as forward as you might have done if I was going to get to Wetherby, but the ground there won't be any good anyway.
First Street, a classy hurdler. What are you looking at for him?
Well, I was thinking in lines of the Jerry Fielden at Newbury, possibly. Yeah, he ran some very good races, and it was his first season in training. Although he's actually a very flat-bred horse. He did really well, and he was second in 2 very competitive handicaps. I thought the Jerry Fielden would be a good starting point anyway. So he'd be ready for that. He's in good form. Okay,
and would you see him as a horse that would get further in time? I know you said he's sort of very much predominantly flatbred, but do you see him as a horse that will get a bit further? Oh,
he's got plenty of size. I don't know if he'd get any further, but he'd jump a fence if you wanted him to, yeah.
Okay. Impulsive One has already had a run this season at Chepstow, so hopefully we'll come on for that. And I suppose he might be in a horse to gauge the fitness for the others.
Well, it wasn't really that, to be honest with you. He's had a wind operation since we cauterised his palate. We actually did it this time last year, and like a lot of them, they just need it doing at the beginning of each season. So it's just been done. He's had a week off, which he'd had off anyway after Chepstow. He'd been a little bit noisy just prior to the race, and we were suspicious, but it definitely showed in the race. So we just had it done again.
Okay. Walking on Air as a horse, so I know you've always held in quite high regard. He's a lovely big horse. campaigned at a high level last back-end at Aintree. Just explain first of all the decision in running in that grade.
Well, it was a difficult one because he'd only had one run at Newbury, which he won very nicely. We'd have been disappointed if he hadn't, to be honest with you. And then it was a question of, well, what on earth are we going to do? Because you could just go and win another novice. So we did chuck him in a bit deep, which was a little bit unfair with him. We'd had issues, and again, a little bit of back surgery seems to have helped him a lot. That was what was hindering him at the back end, and we didn't quite get away with it. But he's really good now. So I would have thought. I mean, he looks like a great big booming chaser. The dam stayed 3 miles, so pretty sure he would too. So he's going to be a 3-mile chaser. It's just a matter of when he goes chasing. You might say a little bit more experience would be over hurdles wouldn't be a bad thing.
Nicky, a horse of no name, ran in the Cesare Rich, ran well enough in defeat, but you still got a nice future for her over hurdles, you'd like to think?
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, she's still a maiden over hurdles after 2 seasons, but she has been running in some pretty grown-up races. We've got, we're not surprised she was second in the Champion Mares Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham, and got a black type as well, which was really what we were aiming at all season. And she obviously, we never really just dropped down to a mare's maiden hurdle. So consequently, she starts the season as still a novice. Yeah, we went back to the flat at the end of last season. She won very nicely at Newbury, a valuable handicap, another valuable race at York. And we were all ready for Royal Ascot and couldn't go because of that ground. So we put her away for the Cesarewitch, and I think things just hadn't quite got there right. She'd gone in a coat the week before, and everything had been going really well. She had a good gallop at Newbury, and I was very happy. But perhaps, she just, for me, she flattened out a little bit at the end. She travelled into the race really well, very strong. Ryan sort of felt she mightn't have really seen out 2¼ miles, but we'll see. We'll be coming back to 2 anyway. And really, the objective would be the mares at Cheltenham again. I mean, she ran a tremendous race in it last year. We ummed and ahed whether to run it because that was the day of the ground went very, very soft. Very nearly pulled her out. Yet she then runs the race of her life. I think the obvious thing to do is let her win a hurdle race somewhere on the way, and then tiptoe quietly and keep her for the festival.
And whatever she does over hurdles would be a nice prep into the Ascot Stakes at the Royal Meeting next
June.
June.
I mean, that's what she'll do again. Yeah, exactly. We can mix and match and not be too aggressive in the middle of the winter.
Let's talk about Swap 2. Was smart in bumpers, won a nice race, a valuable race at Lingfield. And over hurdles with him this year, obviously?
Yeah, very much so. Really well schooled and jumps great, ready to run.
And a horse that really caught my eye this morning was Ballyhigh.
Yeah, he's a good
See
looking...
what I did there? See what I did there? Really caught my eye.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, yes, you're absolutely right. He's by Camford Cliffs, who's not your sort of average National Hunt sire, but he's very interesting. He's actually got genuinely brown eyes. They're like human eyes. He's a very good-looking horse. I think he goes rather well.
Okay. What about, let's look at horses that have had a bit of experience, Full of Light for Diva Racing?
Yeah, I think he had a good first season. He's just sort of furnishing up a little bit at the moment. We'll jump a fence in time, but I'd say we've got a little bit of unfinished business maybe over hurdles.
Glyn, he's a horse I looked very talented early on in his career.
We persevere because he's very talented. He's a jinx horse, if you like. Every time you go to make an entry for him or do anything with him, he goes lame. And he's so many different ways of going lame, it's ridiculous. But if he gets there, he's good.
He's a lovely big horse, isn't he? When you jump a fence in time.
Yeah.
And a horse who suffered a real bad fall at Foss last year, and obviously took him a long time to recover because we only saw him once, was Gypsy de Choiseul last year at Aintree. Hopefully you can make it for some lost time with him. I
think so. He's starting to work rather nicely at the moment, and yeah, he's a nice horse. He's just quite a classy looking individual, and I should have some fun with him.
And carries the same silks of Call Me Lord, of course.
Call Me Lord, who's been a great servant all the way through. We did try a little bit of steeplechasing at one time, and I think Darryl made our mind up for us. He didn't think it was a good idea.
Former Unibet International winner, of course. That'd be a
Well, he
kind of
was,
game.
yeah, and he stays. So he's very versatile, although I think we'll leave the chasing out of it.